You know, we're constantly being sold these flashy blueprints for the perfect life, right? These quick fixes and instant transformations. But here's the thing. Anyone who's ever built anything knows the blueprint is just the beginning. The real work, the actual strength, comes from the day-to-day construction. So today, let's talk about the real architecture of a resilient life. And this, right here, is the fundamental truth we just have to start with. Real, meaningful change isn't some lightning strike. It's not a single decision that just flips a switch and you're done forever. Nope. It's a slow, deliberate, and, sometimes challenging process of laying one brick at a time. It's all about construction, not some magic trick.
So this really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? It's about how we approach change. Are we going to live our lives just waiting around for these unpredictable bursts of inspiration, or are we going to build a reliable engine, a system that runs every single day no matter what our mood is? That's really the core question we're tackling here. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start with that engine. This first part is all about the architecture of what we do. This is about building a system of action that gets us away from just making empty promises and moves us toward a reliable daily process.
Okay, so what do we even mean by a system? And look, it's not some crazy complicated spreadsheet or a super rigid schedule. Think of it more like your personal operating procedure for making progress. The simple, repeatable things you do that guarantee you move forward, even on the days you really don't feel motivated.
The logic behind building a system is actually pretty simple. You see it here. First, you got to know where you're going. You define the goal. Then, you design a daily routine that'll get you there. And then comes the hardest part. You just have to trust the process. You show up, you do the work, and you let the compounding effect of all those daily actions build the result for you.
Okay, so we've got a framework for our actions, for what we do on the outside. But a strong building isn't just about the walls and the roof, right? It needs a solid foundation, internal stability. So what about the architecture inside of us?
And that brings us to our second pillar, the stability of stillness. This is where we look at the architecture of our emotional composure. And honestly, we're going to challenge some of the common ideas out there about how we're supposed to feel. I mean, we've all felt this, haven't we? Some big event happens, and society just seems to expect this huge, high-energy emotional performance. Think about the pressure to have a big public reaction on social media or to show joy or grief in a really specific, visible way. But true mental stability, it often looks completely different. It can be a calm, composed, or even a neutral response. It's not about being loud. It's about being grounded.
And this is so important. A lack of a huge dramatic reaction doesn't mean you don't care. It can actually mean that you have a really well-regulated internal system. It can mean you're stable.
This right here really gets to the core of it. This isn't just an opinion. It's an observation based on emotional regulation. That calm response to major events, that's a sign of mental stability. So your composure isn't a flaw, it's a feature of a really well-architected mind. Think about it. In a world that's just constantly screaming for our attention, for our emotional energy, the ability to stay calm, to stay centered and stable, that's not just a nice little skill. It's a flat-out superpower. All right, so how do we put all these pieces together? Well, we stop trying to use someone else's blueprint for our life. We start designing our own. And we do that by connecting our systems of action with our emotional stability. So here are the real keys to building your own architecture. First, trust the daily process, not some grand, empty promise. Second, value composure over emotional chaos. And remember, and this is the big one, your external systems and your internal stability are totally connected. A reliable routine actually creates that inner calm. And that inner calm, it makes it way easier to stick to your routine. See how they feed each other? So I'll just leave you with this one thought. You know, the most incredible buildings in the world were built one single stone at a time. So the question is, what's the one brick you can lay for your own life's architecture today?